Meliodas cut Ban in half, but didn't attack Elizabeth. The pig mom threw Diane's clothes into the giant hole, and then Meliodas was fighting with Helbram with an incredible strength. And that's when Diane finally appears as Ban runs away. She destroys the ground as she sees the state of Meliodas, which ends the battle. And at the end of the episode, they start doing some training until episode 14. Golfer's armor is broken, so it needs to be fixed. And then on the other side, the seven deadly sins need to prepare for the bar. And the pig and Elizabeth go into town, uh, and then the young one that's going to repair the armor meets them in town. The armor gets bored of waiting while the young one's in town, and so it goes off. Meliodas and Ban are doing a hunting competition for the boar's hat, and then they hear a noise and they go to investigate it. A group of assassins try to assassinate the armor, to kill the armor, uh, but in the end, the young one that wanted to repair the armor turns out to be one of the seven deadly sins. Episode 15. Golfer negotiates with the assassins and then takes off the head of his armor as he judges it to be more peaceful than fighting with the assassins. He then offers the head to the assassins, but despite that, the seven deadly sins still need to fight the monster as it is still alive. Uh, at some point, Cain comes and gives a sword to Elizabeth to give to Meliodas, which he then uses to kill off the demon. And that's it. Episode 16. The seven deadly sins have a party, and Gopher ends up exposing many secrets of the members. Later on, Jericho basically tells Gilad that her father was turned into a monster by the knights. Elizabeth gets kidnapped later on, and then Meliodas, Ban, and Gopher are thrown by Jan to the castle. They then suddenly arrive, and the battle begins. Immediately, and Arthur arrives alongside his big army just on the other side of the wall. Hendrickson escorts Arthur inside the gates, but then attacks him. Elizabeth was imprisoned, but thanks to Hawk, the pig's diarrhea, whom got brought in by mistake, they managed to escape as he blasted the door. Golfer, Ban, and Meliodas got past some nights by playing a family magic trick. King sent Diane to the castle thanks to his teleportation dog. But Diane was getting beaten up as she wasn't teleported fully, and then it succeeded thanks to the enemy's attack to be transported completely. Jan then ends up in a bad situation as she saves Gila's brother from being crushed by a building, and so she ends up on the floor in a bad situation. But then the Holy Knights step in and defend her. Gila and Hauser defend her. And that's it. Hauser and Gila start the combination attack against the other Holy Knights. Gopher rescues Gila when she's attacked, and in the meantime, Elizabeth meets up with her sister, and the pig is trying to defend them when the teleporter attacks, but is then teleported to a dark place. Then we go back to the fight. Golfer uses his powers against the Dreyfus, and puts him in the nightmare where we learn of what he did in the past. And then later he gets stabbed. He gets stabbed afterwards, and then like everyone is down, and King comes to the rescue and fights Halbrand, that is in fact a fairy, and then afterwards he starts to amass a lot of power. King lost his memory in the past, and we end up learning about King and Diane's past. We also learn that Halbrand is using the face of someone that died long ago, whom was the one that had hit King into the river, which made him lose his memory. He then had to go and attend and do some errands, so he then erased himself from Diane's memories. And after all that, we return to the battle between the two fairies, and King defeats Halbrand in the end, and finally Meliodas save Arthur in the other battle. That's it for episode 19. On to 20. Elizabeth is with the king, and we also get to see some of Meliodas and Gilfunder's past. Meliodas suddenly gets frozen, and then he quickly unfreezes himself, but then needs to counter some attacks which made him have 3 opponents. Meliodas used one of the enemy's attacks to destroy the monster that was tracking Margaret and threatening her. Then, as this happens, Gilfunder is released from his restraints and attacks Hendrickson. And then, finally, in the end, Merlin, the Deadly Sins, reveals herself. Ban went all the way to the horn of Cernunnos, I don't know how to say it, to get his wish granted. He needs to kill Meliodas in order to revive Elaine. Meliodas reaches the king's room where Elizabeth is, and the king is teleported out of the room to get treated for his health. Suddenly the castle is partially destroyed. The generations also become monsters suddenly, besides from Gila. Hendrickson stabbed Gilfunder and Meliodas, but to save them, Elizabeth decides to go with Hendrickson. And at the end, Ban shows up to try and kill Meliodas. Meliodas tells Ban that he can kill him if he wants after saving Elizabeth. Dreyfus confronts Hendrickson, and in the meantime, Meliodas gets to Elizabeth while sleeping on Hulk's back. The monster part of the new generation gets controlled, and and Dreyfus loses his life. The seven deadly sins confront Hendrickson themselves alongside the Holy Knights. And that's it for episode 22. After discovering that Hendrickson had the demon that killed Elaine, Ban gets angry, and then he punches him like so many times. And then at some point they enter or fall into a cave, depending on the words that you want to use. And then Hendrickson stopped being a human due to using another demon. And then he became a full demon, then stopped being a human. He unleashed a deadly power at Meliodas, but Hulk the pig protects him. And in the end, Elizabeth then awakens her powers and saves everyone. So 24. The seven deadly sins now take command and start their plan. Then Meliodas charges up all his strength by taking all of the attacks from the Holy Knights and all of them, alongside Hendrickson. And he then finally unleashes it all on Hendrickson, thanks to Revenge Counter. Hendrickson is defeated due to the attack. The king appears with Merlin in full health, and the pig becomes small and managed to stay alive. And Veronica for Dead arrives. Now an adventure is over, and so a new one starts for the seven deadly sins.